Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever and whenever you're watching this video, welcome along to another round of TT Masters League Division 1, round number 7, which takes us to Spa-Francorchamps and the Belgian Grand Prix. A little bit different this time around. We couldn't do this as a live stream, so we're going to have to cut it into two pre-records. Here is the qualifying part of tonight's race, and if you're liking this so far, I've got great news. I've got somebody else with me who's going to help me along with this Belgian Grand Prix. It's the fantastic, the lovely, the wonderful Mr. James Head. James, how are you tonight?
Mr. 100% as well, I think you forget. I'm doing really well, Kieran. Obviously, it's a bit different from what we normally do, but hopefully everyone is going to be staying safe out there, and we cannot wait for qualifying to begin, and we have got a new driver which we'll focus on as well in just a little bit.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's a little bit different. We haven't had to do a pre-record for a number of months, actually, so this is going to be a little bit different. So obviously, you're going to be tempted to skip to the end of the video to find out the results. I implore you, don't do that. Watch the whole of qualifying, because as we have it here, bone dry conditions for the longest track on the calendar. To be precise, it's 7.004 kilometres that takes us through the Ardennes Forest. And James, as unpredictable as the Ardennes Forest is, it brings up some really unpredictable weather conditions.
It does indeed, and obviously with the weather it being bone dry, we're going to see soft compound running, I think, throughout this session. Anybody that goes on to mediums will tend to feel that the track is going to evolve, but the soft compound of tyres is certainly going to be the quickest, and we are now seeing the first cars coming out on track. I think the two Racing Points are out first, if I'm not mistaken. XL Hardy, our brand new driver into the league. He joins Killer Blue, of course, in what I'm calling Team XL, because they're both part of the same team, and Killer Blue now goes ahead of his team as we run down towards Raidillon and Eau Rouge, or Eau Rouge and Raidillon even. I'm getting them two mixed up.
Yeah, Raidillon and Eau Rouge, not in that order, as we now head our way down the Kemmel Straight. And of course, Killer Blue looking to try and get another podium for this season. He's had a decent start to this season. It's tapered off somewhat in the middle of the season, but you know, coming into the last part of the season, we've got some great tracks coming up to in the rest of the season on the run up to January, James. How do you reckon he could do for the rest of the season?
Well, he's third coming into tonight on 83 points. Medium Pilot not being here is going to be a significant factor, I think, for both Pepetum and Killer Blue's charge. Short not being here, he's in fourth. But Killer Blue, I think, is going to do a fantastic job. He's invalidated on his outlap. Don't worry about that at all. But we're going to see him on a lap very shortly indeed. You can see they're not giving much room for each other, actually, out on track. Venom is the one that's directly behind Hardy, and it looks like he's outpacing them, and they just want to split into about 1-2 second gaps so that they don't pick up dirty air and they don't suffer the consequences later on in qualifying.
Absolutely. So Killer Blue then, we are going to ride on board for Killer Blue for a hot lap of the longest circuit in terms of distance to cover, but it's not one of the longest lap times. That comes later on down the line. But riding on board then with Killer Blue in the Racing Point, on board with him to take you round for a lap around Spa-Francorchamps, it's the lovely Mr. James Head.
And Killer Blue now comes out of bus stop. Yellow flag in sector 3. Don't worry about them. Everyone's preparing up for their laps. And Killer Blue decides to take the wider out line, coming down towards the source at turn 1. Famously where Alonso and Grosjean crashed coming through in 2012. Grosjean, of course, being in the headlines with that really bad accident in Bahrain. Now, let's say that, though, here, as Killer Blue now comes up towards the Rouge and Raidillon. To take this flat out, almost 192 mile an hour carried through that. Beautiful on the apex, and now runs down the Kemmel Straight, passing Dutch corner to the left-hand side. Of course, Belgium wasn't even hosted as a Grand Prix this season. And Killer Blue now coming towards the end of the first sector to 29.8 through the first sector from the man, the Brit, the third man in the championship, currently 83 points. Killer Blue now running down towards Bruxelles, and then towards X corner, I believe, or No Name as some people know it as. Killer Blue coming through X, and then I'll run down towards Pruon. Pretty much halfway through the lap, he just ran wide there, getting as much exit on the curb as possible. Runs wide, coming in towards Pruon very nicely indeed. Catches the inside, wants to save as much ground there as possible. And now comes into the section of the track where I actually don't know what it's called. I always forget when it comes to this section of the track. But we are now coming through the right-hander and then towards Stavelot, which I can pick up. 113.4 through the middle sector from Killer Blue, and now on this straight all the way down towards Blanchimont, which is of course a 90-degree left-hander. They fly through here in excess possibly of 200 mile an hour if there's a little bit of toe. So Killablu through there very nicely indeed. Just under 200 mile an hour as he now reaches the bus stop chicane for the second time, because he obviously set up for a lap through here and tries to take the line as thin as possible, catches the curb on the outside, but across the line, Killablu sets a 141.9, not a shabby lap at all. I think we're about a second off possibly what we're going to see.
Yeah, and then there you can see Killablu smashes that one. He 41.9. Hardy then 43.6 on debut here in TT Masters League. It's Amadi then who puts it into second place. Importantly though, on the medium tyres. That shows us there's pace to come, and pace to come there is. Combi now puts it on provisional pole position in the Ferrari, 141.8. So a good lap from him. Amazing hour meanwhile, 141.1. James, this is looking like 140s territory, possibly maybe even on a whim of a hope, a 139?
I don't think we're going to get a 139. I'm sorry to burst your bubble this early on in qualifying. I think Amazing Hour has set the pace though. 41.8. Just in that comparison, Combi in second, 41.8 out on track. I think I've just repeated myself possibly twice there. 41.1 for Amazing Hour, 41.8 for Combi, and it's 7/10 of a second, nearly 7.5 tenths per second separating the top two. Killablu there in third. Really impressed though with the runnings of Amadi and Benham, both on a set of medium compounded tyres, fourth and fifth currently. They're only 3 tenths off each other, plenty of time to be found. Papetin, by the way, has came back into the pit lane. He invalidated on his lap as we've got Varkey and Twitch Lemon out there, and Twitch Lemon has just started one.
Yep, so Lemon now making his way in towards La Source hairpin, and then the run down the hill we go. Varkey, meanwhile, is making his way in towards Les Combes as we now make our way through that third right-hander of Les Combes. That second right-hander, my apologies. The third corner of that chicane would have been more accurate as we now head our way in towards Brussels there, and a bit of a lock-up on the front right, very easy to do, in towards X corner. Flying through with that Williams, riding on board with the Austrian in Varkey. Now heading our way towards that double left-hander of Pouan, using plenty of curb on the outside there. Very careful to touch the inside curb now as you make your way through. Very easy to over-rotate the rear tyres and cause them into a spin. And to put you out of a little bit of misery, James, this is the campers section. This campers chicane brings us then towards the other end of the circuit here, just on the edge of the Ardennes Forest. A little bit running wide onto the curb there. Lap still valid as we make our way through Stavelot and then towards that legendary left-hander Blanchimont. It's flat out through here in these qualifying trim setup, soft tyres, low fuel. Put your foot in, make sure it sticks hard to the ground as possible. Steering needs to be a little bit lighter than Varkey's though, to make sure you don't scrub off too much speed. And then we head in towards the bus stop chicane. Oh, Varkey's missed his braking point there. He's going to have to abandon that lap time, which he does, and he heads back towards the pit lane. Just a simple case of leaving his braking slightly too late.
Yeah, really surprised actually he wasn't invalid there coming through the chicane. Obviously he's decided to back out the lap. Rightfully so, he wasn't on a good lap. Anyways, Caginio, by the way, has gone second, 41.4, and Matthias has retired in the pit lane. So we're not going to be seeing the one and only Mercedes out on track. He can start from a possible P10 as it currently stands. Twitch Lemon coming across the line. He, I think, is setting up for another lap possibly later on in the session, 46.3. And it was invalid as well. And Schiaparelli coming through the Blanchimont now. Schiaparelli, just to put it into perspective, hasn't had the most successful season so far. But in terms of third position, Killablu's on 83 points, Schiaparelli on 45. I make that 38 points. Schiaparelli is in good touching distance here to possibly really move into the top 10.
He has, and you know, he's a little bit of a diamond in the rough, isn't he? He has those races, they are spectacular when he has good races, but he can very easily fall under the radar. But he now makes his way down the hill then through Eau Rouge and then up Radion with that green flag waving just on the left odd entry, just to make sure, just to reinforce to Schiaparelli that the top of the hill is clear. Then we head now down the Kemmel Straight and towards Les Combes for this flying lap. You can see they're all the way in 8th gear, just about see on the steering wheel there, 206 miles per hour. It's a purple sector 1, but he gets a little bit of oversteer on the second part of Les Combes as he now runs a little bit too wide on the exit, and that's his lap invalidated as he heads his way down towards Brussels. And it's a long track here at Spa. If you get a strategy wrong, if you get a lap wrong, it's a long trek back to the pit lane.
He's still committed on this lap though, so it might be worth riding on board with what he might have set. Schiaparelli, unfortunately, catching the diamond within the rough, and unfortunately, he has set an invalid lap time on this lap time anyways. But And I think he might decide to come back into the pit lane. I'm not sure. I'm just right on board with this. I think Twitch Lemon is also on a lap. He's just ahead of him out on track, and he's just invalidated coming through the bus stop chicane right on the exit. It wasn't a good lap at all from Twitch Lemon. He was just trying to get a banker lap in, but even the banker laps, he's running wide coming through the bus stop chicane, and he doesn't set a lap time that would have been slower than his previous best that he would have set. Chapelelli is coming through the bus stop chicane now and decides to spin. I was going to say he decides to dive it back into pit, but he decides to spin on the exit of the bus stop chicane, and Venom is just preparing up for a lap.
And having to find that reverse gear is Chapelelli. There we go. He eventually finds the pit lane entrance with his front wing clean and undamaged. Venom then, meanwhile, on a flying lap now as he heads his way down the hill once again towards Eau Rouge and Radion. He set his fastest lap time so far on those soft tyres. And he's now making his way up the hill. So all the drivers now, you can see their fitted tyre is next to their name now. And the only driver that's not gone for the soft tyre at this moment in time is Imad in 5th place, 42.3. And he's on the medium tyres, and he's clearly thinking that mediums are a way to go. But when we talk about strategy here, James, obviously Pirelli bring us the hardest tyres we really have on the calendar here to Belgium, such as the distance that these cars covers over a single lap, just over 7 kilometres. But when it comes to qualifying, you'll really see that the drivers do want to get onto the soft tyres because they're the quicker tyre, but they don't last long in the race. About 4 laps before they really start to hurt in terms of tyre performance and tyre wear, as Venom has invalidated this lap time. What sort of strategies could we expect to see tonight?
I think, honestly, one-stop strategy could try and work, but these guys who are qualifying on a set of soft compounder tyre will have to go on to a set of hards around lap 5, lap 6, I'm thinking, to then try and go towards the end of the race. Now, if there's a safety car or a VSC and there's the opportunity to come into the pit lane, these guys will decide to jump into the pit lane and try and go for quicker 2-stop strategy. It's as simple as that, really. I was right on board with Venom as well on his lap. He's 3/10 up coming into the bus stop chicane. He's invalid. He invalidated just coming out of No Name, or X corner as you like to know it as. But he is preparing up for another lap, so I'm going to be interested to see how he gets on here.
Perpetum puts it on second place then, 41.195. Amazing Hour tops the table though, 41.131 from the Alfa Romeo driver, showing us that that form from France is carrying on with a potential pole position. Now, of course, remember here in TT Masters League, there are points up for grabs for pole position, 2 to be exact, for that coveted pole position, so you've got a good chance of scoring some points. Amazing Hour could try and take it away from Perpetum, who we already know is trying to lock down that position on a number of occasions. Combi across the lines improves by 3/10, but can't improve on position, stays in 4th place and stays onto the second row of that grid. Imad then has invalidated his lap time on a set of medium tyres, clouts the wall just for good measure on entry. No worries though, the team can get that repaired and get him straight back out there.
Amazing Hour's on a good lap. He's nearly 2/10 up coming through Stavelot and on the run towards Blanchimont as well. This could be a significant improvement from the Australian, who've literally just woken up, I'd say, in the last hour or so to practice and to come here tonight and race. And Amazing Hour has got an amazing chance, quite literally, pun intended there, with Amazing Hour coming around the final corner. Just gets wider coming down the bus stop, but I think he's still going to improve across the line. He does improve, but only by 0.15 of a second. But it's enough still to put him on pole position. If he didn't have that exit, that poor exit coming out the bus stop chicane, I think he would have got into the 140s.
Well, here's Killer Blue making his way across the line. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. At least not in position. Stays at a 41.6. His teammate Hardy came back into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Venom is completing this lap time, making his way towards the line. 5th place for the Renault driver, 41.5. But that lap was set on 2-lap-old soft tyres. Now, that's something you really don't want to do here at Spa-Francorchamps. If you can avoid setting multiple lap times on a tyre, it has to be at a track like Belgium, doesn't it?
Yeah, high tyre degradation around here at Belgium. I think it's something like 5% a lap, as you see Venom just cut across, coming through Radion there. And Venom, so far, has had a really good qualifying session. Combi ahead of him has been on that 1-lap-old tyre, 41.5, his best. He only needs to find 0.05 of a second, and indeed 1/10 of a second, to try and get onto the back of Cagini as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can improve, but the tyre degradation around here is really, really high. So this is why these guys, I think, are qualifying only on that one lap of tyre. Then they're coming into the pit, and then they're using up another fresh set of soft compound of tyres. And normally when you see in terms of strategy around here, in terms of setup as well, drivers tend to go for the harder compounded tyres just so that they're more durable within the race. Because remember, the top 10 will have to qualify on the tyre that they start the race on. And essentially, if nobody qualified, nobody would start really on the tyres that they were in qualified.
Well, here comes Chapelele round the final corner and on towards the start-finish line. Third place then for Chapelele on a set of medium tyres. That's a heck of a lap time there from the Alfa Romeo, and clearly setting that standard that we can go even quicker than a 41.1. I wonder then, Chapelele on those medium tyres, well, there's 3.5 minutes to go. An in-lap normally takes you around 2 minutes. I'm going to say that's possibly Chapelele's session done, especially at the rate he's trying to make his way back towards the pit lane. That could be his session done and over with. Third place, medium tyres. I mean, that's a heck of a lap time.
Really good lap time from Chapelele, and he's only 1800th of a second, in fact, ahead of his German teammate, or German compadre, I should say, Cagini and Combi there in fifth, and Perpetuum there in second. So it seems all the Germans are here to play. Perpetuum, Chapelele, Cagini and Combi all second to fifth at this stage. But I believe Imadi has just started up on a lap, and he is coming down towards Raidillon and Eau Rouge. Chapelele is the only one out there on a lap, but he's not. Imadi through there very nicely indeed. He's got Red Bull, I think, ahead of him, which could be Twitch Lemon, I think, on an out lap. He's going to give a little bit of tow running down the straight. Imadi's first sector. It's 29.8. He's a 10th up.
Well, here we go then, riding on board once again with the Haas driver in Imadi, going through Les Combes, and then onwards we go towards Brussels. Downhill on entry, very easy to lock those brakes as Imadi just did there on that front right hand tyre. Very, very easy to do as we now fly through X corner, using plenty of curb on exit. Don't use too much, otherwise your lap will be invalidated. Now through that double left-hander of Pau, and we saw Antonio Giovinazzi having a moment here during the Belgian Grand Prix, and found himself into the wall, and he did walk away from that one. He was absolutely fine afterwards, but that is a place you do not want to be losing that back end. So easy to do if you're not careful. As we now make our way through Stavelot and onwards now in towards that third sector, Imadi 7/10ths up, then his previous best should take him up towards the front end, the pointy end of the grid. Then here we go then, flying through Blanchimont now, turning in through that long left-hander and flying absolutely beautifully through there. Now heading our way in towards that bus stop chicane. Again, bit of a lock-up on that front right-hand tyre. Here comes Imadi towards the line. What sort of lap time can he do then as he makes his way towards the line? 41.2. It does put him at the pointy end of the grid, but it's only good enough for third place.
Not a bad lap there, though, by the Scotsman. And to put it into perspective, he's only a 10th of a second off our pole sitter, currently Amazing Hour, with just over a minute to go in qualifying. So it is really all to play for. I don't think Chapelele is going to get out for another lap. I mean, it's a minute to go. He's not even at the pit lane, so he's definitely not going to be getting a lap. Yaram, though, is, and he's on the run down towards Pouon, and was there or thereabouts in terms of the first sector split. I think it's Killablu getting out to the right-hand side of him on an out lap. And Yaram coming through that middle sector. Imadi, I think, has got a yellow flag in sector 1. But I think we should just ride on board this lap. This is looking quite neat and tidy for Yaram.
I'll tell you what, that car looked absolutely planted through Pau, didn't it? Absolutely flew through there with confidence. Yaram 113 at this moment in time as he now makes his way through that final couple of corners. Clips a little bit of grass, does a little bit of housekeeping, a bit of gardening on his way through as well, just to boot. Now going our way through Blanchimont, and there's the invalidation. That's not what he needed with only 20 seconds to go for the AlphaTauri driver. He might be feeling he needs to go again, and I mean, he hasn't had a chance to harvest any energy. He's probably used quite a bit of fuel already. 41.7 that was, and even though he backed out of it, that still would have been enough for 10th place just to get him up the order, but he now has to go for it. Checkered flag is now out. Chapelele, of course, made his way back to the pit lane, didn't come back to the pit lane, or didn't re-emerge. Here comes Hardy towards the line. What can he do? 41.184, which puts him onto the front row of the grid, not quite gaining those 2 points that he wanted to start off his TT Masters League campaign. Here comes Lemon towards the line. Remember, this is a medium tyre run, and it's a 41.7 from the Red Bull driver. Keeps him in 10th place. The Haas driver has just come into the pits. That was Imad, who has completed his qualifying session. Coutinho, he's just invalidated his lap time just as we jumped on board. That is him not going to be setting an extra lap time. 6th place at the moment for the Red Bull driver. Here comes Combi then in towards this final chicane, trying 2 bites of the cherry into the first part and then perfectly through the second part. Here he goes then towards the line on a set of soft tyres. 3rd place for the Ferrari driver. 141.191, which puts him now onto the 2nd row of the grid. Let's have a look and see up and down the order. Amazing Hour looks like he's on a great lap time. This could be the 140 that we're waiting for as he makes his way now on towards the bus stop chicane. Riding on board with him. Let's not try and put him off as he tries to steer in here, keeping a lot of high revs up to 3rd to reduce the wheel spin. Straight wheel it as much as you can towards the line. 40.8 from Amazing Hour and an amazing lap time. Perpetum back into the pit lane there. We've got Killer Blue who's invalidated his lap time. So too has Venom. So Yaram and had a spin at Stavolo, so he won't be able to improve. So 2 points for one of the first times this season is going to go to the Australian of Amazing Hour here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Great lap time from him, and that puts him on that coveted pole position.
We said last week when he made his debut, he showed really good pace within Esports Masters League, and that is why. He has just shown why he should be at the top of the standings. Hardy, by the way, though, in 2nd position on his debut, doing a fantastic job. Yaron, by the way, got through on a lap with a 2-minute 8.9, and that is him done, and that is qualifying done as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great lap time from Amazing Hour to take you through the standings as we head our way in towards the race tonight. 22 laps to unfold. Amazing Hour then grabs 2 points for that pole position. 3/10 quicker than anybody else. Debutant XL Hardy is in 2nd place. Combi in 3rd. Perpetum down in 4th place, but not very fine margins. In fact, very fine margins between 2nd and 5th place there. Imad rounding out the top 5. It's Chapelele 6th. Coutinho in 7th. Venom 8th. Killer Blue in 9th. Lemon rounding out the top 10. Yaram did get a lap time on the board just to put him in 11th place, but because he started outside of the top 10, he'll get to start on any tyre he chooses. Chapelele and Lemon will have to start on those medium tyres, and that brings an end to the qualifying side of tonight's race. Join us for the race stream and the race recording, which will be on the channel hopefully straight after this one. I would say don't go anywhere, but go to the next video, because that's the race. We'll see you there.